Hello, everyone, and welcome in. My name is Bryce Koon. Welcome in to the Crowded Booth on a Monday night into the month of April. I guess we could call it the back half of month of April. A lot of spring football games have happened already. Some are still to happen. Myself, Ralph Leary, and maybe Will Manis a little bit later on. We're going to talk college football spring games, and we're going to talk a lot of what you should take out of spring. And then, two, does it matter? And is Lane Kiffin onto something? That and more on tonight's episode of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bryce Koon. That's Ralph Leary next to me. Will Manis, fresh off a doubleheader sweep in his coaching career, is going to be here in maybe a little bit. We'll see.
We know that did they win both games?
I did receive confirmation from sources close to the team, including players that called me as I was making dinner. We're going to talk a lot tonight. Power Tech says, "Am I first?" You are indeed first there, Power Tech. Welcome in, and then Adam,
Absolutely
the
not.
We're
Just go
talking.
ahead and say no.
We're going to talk specifically Georgia Tech tomorrow night, Ralph. I can't wait for you to be there for that one. Just no, Ralph doesn't want to be there.
I can't deal with this fan base anymore.
Gosh. All right, we're talking spring football, though, Ralph. Before we get started, let's let people know how they can support us. First off, you can follow us on all social media. That's whether it's Twitter/X, Instagram, Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, which not a lot of people do, I think, except for Ralph's parents. Or grandparents. We appreciate them and all they do. We also check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. And then Twitter, which we've been getting some nice viewer counts over from Twitter. Keep doing that as well. And kind of finally here, just join the comment section if you would like. Ralph, as I get our pet peeve of the week ready to go. Not even pet peeve, just the strange things Ralph sees. As I get that ready to go, can you please enlighten the people on, obviously I'm wearing the pimento cheese 2024 Masters hat.
Let's go. Let's just go full view. Full view.
Yeah. Look, we got going on here. Beautiful from Masters. Ralph, go ahead. What were your thoughts on the Masters before we kind of get started?
I mean, if you didn't think Scotty was going to win it or be in a chance to win it, you haven't been watching golf at all this year. Honestly,
I'm going solo on you so I can get our thing. Okay,
that's fine. Look, Scotty's the best golfer in the world right now. There's no doubt about that. He has been on top of his game last month, 2 months, honestly. He's a good golfer. He's a striker. I think it was a great Masters. I think, Ludwig Aberg had a terrific run Saturday to Sunday. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch. He's a up and comer. He's only 24. Him and Scotty are gonna be running golf the next few years, honestly. And I it's weird to say because I don't want to say it, and I've heard a lot of comments about it, and I've read some comments about it, and I see it on Twitter. Scotty is what Tiger was back then. Now, it just being so dominant, so consistent. You look at the favorites from betting favorites in the last few years at the Masters. You barely saw anyone touch plus 400. Scotty was plus 250 going into this weekend, and then obviously won. Tiger's the only one who had the lower odds ever, and it was minus 150, and he won that Masters. I think what we saw this week was a terrific performance by everybody. I know a lot of people wanted Tiger to have a better finish, but I think we're closing in on the end. Honestly, I hate to say it. I don't think his body can put up with it anymore. I don't think he can play 4 rounds. It's a 1 to 2 round tournament for him, and he's gone. And there's no knock to him. He's the greatest golfer of all time. There's no doubt about it. I stand by that. I don't think there's anyone who actually can say, someone's done better. I mean, he was the most consistent golfer. I think he still holds the record for most world number 1 consistently. And from here on out, he'll be always known as the greatest. So I wish I could have been there. I've always wished I could go. I've never been once. If someone has master tickets year round and they're willing to have an extra person they don't know very well, I'm down. I will drive. I will fly. I will take a train. I will get a I'll get something. I'll go horse and carriage to take me up there. I don't care. I will go. I'll be there.
Mm. Hey, you just carried the show for like a solid 2 minutes, and that was a great monologue.
I carried the show when like you couldn't be there. It was just me and
I-
Will, and I
and-
opened
and-
it with the greatest opening of all time. I still think to this day the best opening was, "Hi, I'm not Bryce Koon. This is the Crowded Booth," and it hit the intro song.
That's awesome. All right, go and put it up there, Ralph. This part's not safe for work. Max Homa had a run. Got to say that.
Did,
yeah, he was.
But
he did.
the Amen corner, as always, killed him.
Agreed. Can't disagree with that. Cannot disagree with that. Pet peeve of the week, Ralph's strange thing.
We just call it Ralph's strange thing of the week.
All right, go ahead.
No, we'll leave it pet peeve of the week because I may not.
It's
have
just pet peeve. Ralph, can you?
It's not a pet peeve. It's just a strange thing that happened this past week.
So, for those that don't know, Ralph is a UPS driver. Okay, he sees some crazy things.
You know, you go out in the country, and some days you see some strange things. And this Thursday was 2 goats standing on a trampoline in the middle of someone's yard. Yes, I said that correctly. There's a donkey right to your left if you can't see it. Those are 2 goats standing on a trampoline in someone's yard. I happened to drive right past it. I stopped for a second and stared for about 5 minutes before I took the picture. And I just don't understand how or why or what they were doing. But it was just weird. It really was, Bryce. I didn't know what to. I mean, I talked to my friends when I'm working, the guys I work with, and the best way I explained to them was like, I'm looking at 2 goats standing on a trampoline, and they all kind of just said, "What?" I'm like, I agree.
What? I agree. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, hey, wild times. Let's talk college football 8 minutes into the show. Obviously, Ralph, spring games have continued. A big slate of them, actually, this past weekend. I know there's still some left to happen this upcoming weekend, but a large portion of the major viewing of college football has kind of come and gone when it comes to just kind of overall. We talk about spring football games. Ralph, we're going to start off though with what Ole Miss did, because I really do want to talk about this, because I am not as you tell me one thing real quick, Ralph. Does this look better, or does that look better? What looks better? This one? Okay. So I'm not as against what Ole Miss has done. We're going to play this in the background kind of as we go. But this is what Ole Miss did. So has Lane changed spring football, Ralph? You're not going to talk about this as you kind of watch some clips. The viewing audience gets to kind of see what Ole Miss did. They had a dunk contest. That's going to get us demonetized. That little SEC banner right there. That's okay.
Yep.
That's fine. But Ralph, in a situation where you're not necessarily going to show a lot, and we're going to talk what you could get out of spring football later in the show, and then talk about maybe some specific storylines leaving spring football. Lane Kiffin was just kind of real about it. Like, let's have fun. I think that this is, unless they ever make the move to create FCS versus FBS games at the spring football level, I'm for this. Or like, I'm 110% for this.
Or do like a 7-on-7 tournament for spring.
They did play 7-on-7 at some point during the day. Yeah,
a tournament. Have like a little round robin tournament, and you do lineman games like this added on. I mean, can you imagine the viewers to watch like Ohio State versus Bama in a 7-on-7? It'd be kind of fun. I mean, obviously there's.
So you're talking about teams competing.
Well, you wouldn't play for a real game. You have like a spring trophy, But then you had the conversation like, oh well, let's just have a 7-on-7. Like
a 7-on-7 spring tournament is essentially what you'd like to see.
Then you have the conversations, I guess, later on that, well, we can have 7-on-7 football as a sport, and then you're having different conversations later on.
Well, I'll take it from this vantage point. Ole Miss obviously is wealthy when it comes to the NIL war chest.
Oh, yeah.
I think, and you and I were kind of talking about this earlier. Will says send out a search party for me. He's looking. Last was known to be seen at La Guadalajara out there in Midland, Georgia.
We'll just let them be out there.
Yeah, just let them be. Ralph, when you kind of look at where they're trying to go, they had Joey Chestnut. This is amazing.
Is had the greatest athlete of all time show up at your spring game and eat a bunch of hot dogs. If you don't believe he's the greatest athlete of all time, just watch any of these. I mean, it's impressive. I don't know who that guy on the left is, but he ain't gonna win this battle. So
That's Chris Beard. That's the basketball coach, I
Chris
believe.
Beard? Oh,
I don't know who that
no.
is.
All
I'm
right.
not sure who that is.
Stop talking.
Um,
But like, yeah, I loved what Lane's idea was. I hate that he even said that comment.
yeah.
Uh,
Don't look at the comments. We'll keep rolling.
look, Lane decided to change the game up, and I think he's done that ever since he got a head coaching job at
Yeah.
FAU. You know, friends of the show.
Yeah.
I loved what he did. Now, is it different, and is it going to make some people mad? Absolutely. But guess what he did? He brought a lot of people to the game. People were, watching the whole time. No injuries. You lowered your chance of having anyone get hurt in a spring game by not playing full tackle football.
Yeah.
Now, does that help? I don't really know. We'll see how Ole Miss acts later on this year. I like it. I think Ole Miss, because they're a solid team. They know what they have. Why prove to everybody else what they can do?
Well, and Lane Kiffin was quoted in saying, like, what are you really getting out of this? Like, we're not going to show plays. Every single defensive set is going to be vanilla. Offense is not going to show super creative. You don't want to get people to get hurt. If the argument is you don't want to get people to get hurt, and I mentioned this earlier, Ole Miss has a big war chest. I'm looking at a program, that obviously we cover on the show in Georgia Tech. This is a great fundraising opportunity. You can charge for this. And one thing, like, here's the kind of 7-on-7, it has obviously, yes, Pro Bowl type vibes. I think this is a lot of fun. I think this could be interactive for, fans. I will say this, Georgia Tech did something where a couple years ago, they only worked around like 60 yards of the field. The other side of the 40 was interactive games for fans to come down. For programs that need to raise money, make this, because we know, Ralph, college football is an entertainment, entity. This is entertainment, and hey, it provides a chance for you to really hype this up. And I will say from experience, and I'll say it on the show, I was at LSU spring game. I posted a picture in the Discord about it on Twitter. The biggest thing for me with what spring games have become, like, obviously grew up in Georgia, wife went to UGA. I was at Kirby's first spring game, the 95,000. They've been having at least 50,000 people. It's been ridiculous. That being said, we can kind of take that off and go back to what we were talking about here, Ralph. That being said, like, this is a good idea for where sports, this game's going. Like, in my opinion, I have no problem with it because spring games don't mean anything. Yes, it's a concern for diehard fans to have this kind of eternal optimism about stuff. And that's cool. But I think that the sport is changing. What we're seeing in what is, once again, this might be better inventory, Ralph, than watching in the second half third team guys go up against each other. And that's not a knock on the athletes. This is more just a result of what fans want to see. I want to get to these comments here real quick. Ken Hendricks says, I remember when football actually meant hitting someone, but I'm sure places like Tech are excited. Ken Hendricks also says, somewhere Irk Russell is butting his head against the top of his casket. I will say, Ken, and Ken put a phenomenal, and I haven't responded. He DM'd me on Twitter with a phenomenal NIL plan that we will have to talk about at some point because it's really cool. The sport's changed. So if this is serious from my vantage point, and you brought up a different thing, make it something different. If it's going to be competitive, let's either play FBS versus FCS games, okay, or like what you said, some type of 7-on-7. Like, go back to the camps, okay? Yeah. What do these media entities like to go film at the high school level? Battle 7v7, Elite 11 type stuff. These camps.
If you go back and look, like 2016, you go watch any 7-on-7 video back then. Do you know who you see all the time? Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
90% of the time you saw a Trevor Lawrence video of him throw to someone who ended up being like a future receiver at Clemson with him, or someone who's now playing with the NFL, because people wanted to see Trevor Lawrence sling it. Now,
yeah,
if you want to watch game film, just go watch the game film. Go watch his huddle. But you want to watch the 7-on-7 where he can kind of just really unleash his arm. There's no shoulder pads. We can see how far he can throw it. It was fun. You're going against the best competition in the country of these 7-on-7 tournaments.
Yeah.
What is it? The Elite 11 challenge for
The
quarterbacks.
Elite 11 is the quarterbacks. Battle 7v7 is a big one. The Under Armour camps. And I would even, if you want to get the linemen involved, okay, do one-on-ones. Create some type of
Oh,
things, because this
well,
is
like
my thing.
the Under
Well, real
Armour
quick,
All
this
Star game.
exactly. Think about what we like in All-Star games.
Yeah,
No one likes the All-Star game in baseball and all that kind of stuff. We like the skill challenges.
you love the home run derby.
Make spring football a skills challenge. 7v7. Do that, because I genuinely think that if everything's becoming a revenue driver, Lane Kiffin's I think he's got it down pat.
He's a front runner for this. He's made this to where this is going to be a new style of spring football, and he's the focal point of it, and it's gonna flourish.
Ralph and I have a conversation. Andy says hockey's clear best All-Star game. Truthfully, I don't watch it. I couldn't
I
tell you.
watched it for the first time this past year. I cannot agree to that comment.
Okay, I can't make
The
it.
skills challenge is fun. They do a
Yeah.
bunch of cool stuff, but I don't think there's one All-Star game that actually is fun to watch besides baseballs.
Yeah, because you can't really not try in baseballs. You'll get embarrassed.
Yeah,
And I think
the NFL's All-Star game is a joke. NBA All-Star game is a joke.
But it's not a joke. Is this new kind of flag football 7v7? It's kind of fun because it's fun to watch Justin Jefferson try to make highlight catches. It's fun to watch,
or Stephon Diggs cover, or
yeah,
Trayvon Diggs. It's
exactly.
I get that, but like actual All-Star game, like the Pro Bowl was a Pro Bowl when Sean Taylor was knocking heads. Like that was a fun time.
Yeah, I just think that this is cutting edge stuff, and I see the dollar sign. Like, how can you make money for this? Because, for example, Georgia Tech this past Saturday, they didn't charge. And people are going to show up. LSU didn't charge. Ref, they might have had 4,000 people in the stands. And Ken Hendricks says this too. Great comment. He goes, I'm just kidding. No one cares about a spring game. It's just a great excuse to drink a beer with your game buddies in the offseason. No one except parents and coaches care about anything happening on the field. Here's the kicker. A lot of programs already have closed scrimmages available to donors and parents. So if you're getting those on that Saturday, the spring game should be some type of fun, interactive to reward the guys for that type of thing. I think it would be interesting. Now, Dr. Bob brings up a good thing, and I got a couple comments for this. Let's get this real quick. Turn the second level of Bobby Dodd to Topgolf. Hey, why not a what is the challenge they do at the Masters, Ralph? Where they invite the kids. Not the par 3 contest, the drive putt chip.
It's the drive
chip putt. Yeah. Do something like that. Like set up temporary holes and let the guys do I think that'd be fun. Dr. Bob says, how would you differentiate this from a coach clown practice at GT? He's referring to Coach Jeff Collins. I got a response from this in the Discord about kind of this whole thing. Ruff, I do think, and this might rub people the wrong way, I think it is more a result of being hurt by kind of how bad Georgia Tech was under Jeff Collins. But I think this is different. This is different. Like, this is totally different because you're not – you said earlier, I don't know what Ole Miss is going to be. Ole Miss is not going to be 6-6 because they didn't have to play a spring game. Ole Miss is going to be 6-6 if they go 6-6 because of something else that happens. That's my take. The spring game does not dictate exactly how you're going to do in the season. Those practices do. And if you take the practices seriously, you take fall camp seriously, and some of the stories that I heard of when that certain person was at a certain job that Dr. Bob's referring to, some of those weren't, and they were treated like that. I don't know. Like I understand the hesitation. I just think this is something that programs that are not flush with cash, I think they need to do this. Like I think this is a great idea in terms of trying to market what you're going to do, and once again provide more inventory.
Yeah, and even what you said earlier about the FBS versus FCS. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Auburn play Sanford or Jacksonville State, or I guess you can say Jacksonville
if you
State
want the competitive atmosphere like that. Right, I'm not against that.
But you don't have to play a full game. You can legitimately just do a 7-on-7 tournament or a game against them, and have one-on-ones with a lineman. Like if you go, my favorite thing to watch in January is the Under Armour All-Star game, not the game. The one-on-ones they show.
The one-on-ones, yeah.
My dad and I love to watch those one-on-ones between the linemen. It's some of the most fun things to watch. You see these guys, they're going at it, and they're not going, 50%. They're going at 100% the whole time. They're trying to embarrass the guy in front of them. They're trying to beat them. It's fun. It's exciting. And then they don't play with full pads. It's just, they may have like a little cap on their head, protecting hitting the ground too hard. it's not injury. There's no injuries being involved in this.
And look, this is a dangerous sport. I'm not saying I don't care about the health and safety of players. I think what I am saying is that I really don't think that the thought process of not playing, of not doing something like this, is to prevent injuries, because I don't think you'd have more injuries than you would any other normal time. Like I don't think you would. I wanted to get to Lane's comment, his actual quote. He said, "Really, the value of spring games, in my opinion, is overrated because you don't show many plays on offense or defense. Most people don't unless they're trying to win the fans over or TV over with the game. We don't want to do that. You really don't get a whole lot out of it." Look, this is a guy who's a successful head coach. And, they didn't release official attendance, but it was a lively crowd. It embraced it. Ralph,
they're watching the whole time.
Listen to this. Ole Miss allowed students that were 21 and older to bring alcohol and sit behind the end zones to try to recreate the environment of right field at a baseball game at Swayze Field.
Yeah.
Like, Jonesy says this. I'm not like, we got a couple comments to get to. Home run derby, play a wiffle ball game, like wiffle ball home run derby. Like, just get creative.
Coaches.
Yeah,
just do something like.
Who wouldn't want to see that?
Or I guess you can't really do that because it's baseball season. I was gonna say you do baseball players against football players, but you can't because they're probably playing a game.
Yeah.
But have like the softball's playing too. I guess you can't do.
But just have like a
basketball
softball
versus football. There you go, basketball versus football. Have like the coaches play against each other. I mean, just like something just out of just different.
Do what Lane Kiffin did and DM Joey Chestnut. That's literally how he got him to come. He DM'd him.
Dude, I feel like Joey Chestnut would go to any spring game if he eat hot dogs.
Oh yeah.
But I think I went to 2 Troy spring games when I was in college, and I went to the Auburn spring game the year after they went to the national championship game against Florida State.
Yeah.
Now, the one after all, the two, or I've been to 2 Auburn ones, but I was younger when I went to the first one. But the second one I went to, I mean, it was fun because you got to see they brought out the whole entire team from 2013, the previous season. The guys who had left, who were graduated, or going to the draft. So they brought Chris Davis out there. They showed the highlight of him on the kick six. The place was erupted. The Troy spring games were not as fun because it was in the middle of the day. It was hot in Troy, Alabama, which is about it's just South Alabama. It's just or Central Alabama is hot.
Yeah.
So, if you're going to do a spring game, you pick the right Saturday. No one's going to go to a game that's blazing hot outside. The game does not matter. They don't care what they're going to watch.
Yeah.
But if you get me involved with what Lane did, I'm staying. I'm watching. I'm going to have a great time.
Well, here's kind of a whole nother kind of strategy with this. One of the reasons Lane Kiffin has done this, and Jonesy's right, ideas are 110% endless. One of the reasons, Ralph, that this is something where you could see the benefits is not just the entertainment value, but also, too, with what we know now, the portal's going to open 2 days later. So the portal opens tomorrow morning. Guys are already planning or just announcing their intentions to enter, but officially. But here's the thing. If you don't give a real depth chart, if you don't play real football, guys are more likely to stay. You know who had that happen the hardest last time? Was Texas last spring when Malik Murphy went off in the spring game and teams tried to poach him. Mm-hmm. What if you have, what if you had that? I just think that this would be fun. I like what Lane Kiffin's done. A lot of people don't like Lane Kiffin announcing from midfield with Ralph wearing a Roman Reigns costume. Could you pull the hair off, Ralph?
No. It looks too greasy. Besides, Cody Rhodes is better. He's the champion right now, so
he is. That's true. The ideas are endless. Like, truthfully,
I mean, you can sit here all day and we can throw ideas out there that sound cool, but you can go all day. Imagine having a Madden tournament on the screen. But
we've come up with literally 9 ideas. You don't have to do all 9 of them. You could literally create.
Just do one.
I don't know, man. I think this is really far away from lifting weights on the sidelines. Like this isn't because it's not real. Like I need people to understand this. We're going to talk about this. There are some things that you can look for in spring games. We'll talk about that.
Mhm.
But you can't. No one's going to come out of spring saying there's your national champion. Like
Oh,
if
gosh, no.
people think this is people are going to leave. I'm going to talk with Palmer later about this in the week. About Georgia. Georgia looked really good defensively. Like certain guys did.
A lot of good guys showed up. Like Anthony Edwards.
Exactly.
You saw that catch he made?
Oh my gosh,
It's
unbelievable!
But you know what?
Unbelievable.
I can tell you right now, he ain't the best receiver on that team.
No, he's not. Trampoline goat roping contest. That
And right there is the reason why we have this show.
that's amazing. But I wanted to say this. If you're going to say, well, I think Georgia's going to win the national title, you're not saying that because you watched a pseudo scrimmage game. You're saying that because of what Kirby Smart has done, the roster stuff. Like no one's going to make super. And if they are, what do we call those people, Ralph? Rock dwellers. They need to go back under the rock because it's not real life. Yeah, that's kind of all I got to say on that. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I love it. I love this idea. I love the way this is going. I hope that more schools take over this idea. I mean, I'd love to see what some of these schools do besides what Lane did. Expand on it. Take this and run with it. Lane can set you a ground. Take advantage. Do it. It's just, and I feel like it's not hard. It wouldn't ruin a program. I love what Ken said. And it's a true statement.
He goes, serious comment. I think Auburn and Florida fire coaches for having a weak spring game after a losing season.
I'm not saying fire coaches, but there were weak spring games. Now Florida had 2 back-to-back weak spring games.
We're going to talk about Florida.
Last year was scored like 7-0. So, change it up. Do something different, please.
Yeah.
For the fans' sake,
because every single time you get into a spring game and a quarterback throws an interception, it's like, well, he sucks, or some obscure player catches 7 passes for 137 yards and 2 scores.
Stat line
he was 7-7.
With what?
But I'll tell you, 2 touches. But I will. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Lock it in.
Let's talk about this real quick, though. Ralph, take that banner off. We're going to go to a quick commercial. We're going to hear from our friends over at Dr. Squatch. Use Bryce Koon for 10% off your order, any order, first, second, third, 75th order. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back talking spring football.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell. Titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
All right, back here on the crowded booth. We appreciate you so much for tuning in on a Monday evening. The Monday after the Masters. I got the pimento cheese hat on. Ralph, you've got a your gear, your accessory, your item was I got a failed to deliver today from the U.S. Postal Service. UPS always comes through, Ralph. U.S. Postal Service let me down today.
Look, man, just so you know, it's gone. It's probably stolen.
I hope not, because it was literally 2 items. And
I understand.
All right, let's keep talking. Over 100 people watching live. We appreciate you. Make sure you like the stream, like the video, and comment down below. Get in the action, and really, what we call it, join the booth. Join into this crowded booth and have conversation with us. Let's before we get into specific teams, Ralph. I wanted to, because I asked the question in Brian Kelly's post-spring game presser on Saturday, and I think this is pretty uniform across college football. I said, what constitutes a successful spring? Like when you look at spring and you look at a spring game, what are you actually looking for? Because the fans' idea of what we're looking for is I want to see said quarterback, like you mentioned with Garrett Nussmeier or a Carson Beck or a Haynes King or someone. I want to see this guy throw for 200 something yards and 3 touchdowns. I want to see how they're going to open up the offense. I want to see these defensive guys. Look, you want to see guys make plays. This is kind of glorified backyard football, what we're watching. There's, especially with programs with new positional coaches and new coordinators, because it's a heavy install period and they're going to keep it basic. So I'll ask you this after I get through this point. I genuinely believe, and I genuinely think that we sit here and we say, what constitutes spring game? Brian Kelly's response was help. You want guys to have a good understanding. The way that you can judge that is, are they playing free? Do they understand what they're doing? Are they in the right spot at the right time? They don't have to make every single play. If you don't make every single play in March and April, it does not mean that you can't be successful from September to December. And then the last thing was, you want to identify your leaders, your guys that can carry leadership into the summer, on their own time and into fall camp. So those were 3 things. Anything else that kind of comes to mind? What makes a successful spring game? Because I truly think we put a lot of stock into stuff. I don't think you can read a ton into it.
I think if you look, I mentioned this comment last year, or maybe in the beginning of the year. Talked about Matt Rule in Nebraska and how one of his first days of practice over summer or during fall camp was he brought all the starters out there. He said, anyone graduating, walk off the field. He said, this is what I got to work with for next year. How are those guys developed from this past season, playing a full year under his game, on to the next season with a full new year? If you're new coaches, you want to see these guys, there should be no mistakes. Everything should be clean and crisp and everything. You want no mistakes out of your stars from last year. You want no mistakes out of the guys who backed up and played a lot last year.
Yeah.
But you're looking to see who the guys that I can work with for the next upcoming years. Development, basically. Obviously you're going to have guys that probably won't see the field all year. I hate to use his name because I know he's a fan favorite here, like Brody Rhodes. Brody Rhodes is not going to play this year.
But we love Brody Rhodes.
We do. I hate to say that. But is he getting better? Does he have a chance to leave and go play in an FCS school and ball out? Probably. I don't know. He's never seen him play. But even if even at Auburn, Bama, Georgia Tech, anyone, they also have position battles. Who are your starters going to be? Who's your obviously LSU and Georgia, possibly Bama, and Georgia Tech all have their quarterbacks locked in. There's no question of who's going to play. Now Florida's got one. Lagway played great.
Yeah.
So these coaches are watching those position battles. I mean, obviously you're playing against your own defense that's seen your offense, all year last year and all spring.
All spring, yeah.
Are they going to be able to, play well against them? You don't know. You can't say that, if Haynes King went out there and threw for 210 yards in a spring game and threw for 4 touchdowns, you can't say that. That's how he's going to be in the regular season, because the defense could just play terrible. And he knows how the defense is going to play. He knows where they're going to be at. He can read the defense. He's a quarterback.
Also, they've been running these plays against each other all spring. That's something too. It's like, for example, down here at LSU, one young man who is a defensive back that needed to get better. He had 3 picks in a span of 10 minutes at one of the spring practices. And one of the big things we had to say was, okay, is this just a result of him knowing and seeing them running that slant play, all spring, or is he actually understanding it, kind of what they're doing? I tend to lean towards.
Is he doing his job?
Yeah.
Do your job every play. Play the whistle. Do your right assignments. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see a blowout. They don't care if you score a touchdown. Play the whistle, play well. Work with your teammates. If there's an audible call, make the right call.
Yeah. You want to see guys translating from the film room onto the field. Like I've talked about Georgia Tech and other programs, like you want to see them be able to say, hey, is there a crispness? Is there an easy transition from, hey, this is what we saw on film. This is what we're trying to do. Let's do it in a simulated game atmosphere. This is not real life. Like a spring game is not real game speed. It is not at all.
No, and 90% of the time, quarterbacks, don't even get nearly touched. They're not even supposed to get even touched.
Yeah.
They are not even 2 hands. You're just, just get in front of them and that's it. You don't even touch, because if you push him, you two-hand touch and you push him and he falls and gets hurt, okay, now you got a quarterback because he's just a weakling, But I like what spring games have to offer. I just feel like the execution sometimes goes a little too far or not enough, because I was watching, I saw Boston Colleges. I saw a recap of theirs. It was the final score was in the 70s for both teams.
What does that do for anybody?
I don't think you learned a thing. I think you watch your offense just go out there and sling the ball both sides of the field and walk off the field. Okay.
Is
your defense good? Are they terrible? Your offense elite? No one knows.
Yeah.
I just don't. You learn nothing from that game, and now you're sitting there, you're watching all your spring film, and you're watching your spring game film, and you're like, they face each other all spring. This is the one receiver and the defensive back going against each other every game. They know how they're going to play against each other. They didn't really go full speed. They don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
You learn nothing. So I don't know. I don't know. There's spring games are supposed to be for development and execution, but we're in an era that's too soft now.
Yeah.
And so you don't get to see that. So
yeah,
what
you can't do that.
Lane did a great job.
Yeah, if we're not going to do this, let's don't take it seriously. Let's don't do anything, any part of it seriously.
Yeah,
you mentioned the word execution. I thought it was a good time to bring this clip up.
Oh boy.
Game had it all.
Yeah.
What did you think of your team's ability to withstand Florida State's impressive comeback?
Yeah, I'm in favor of execution. Maybe our entire team needs to be executed after tonight.
What a head coach.
And they were.
What a head coach there, Brian Kelly. That was when he was at Notre Dame, now at LSU. All right, Ralph, let's go down to Gainesville, because I do want to talk about this. We just got done talking for 37 minutes, Ralph, about how there might not be a lot to take away. I think there are certain things you can take away. The biggest takeaway I have after rewatching the highlights of what Florida was able to do, and Ralph, you changed it. That's why. Yeah. Well, let me do this.
I changed it.
Yeah, you changed. Has Lane changed spring football? Does Florida? All right, let's do this.
I didn't change anything.
Oh, does Florida have hope?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Like,
every team has hope.
Every team has hope, but I think we're a little bit wrong about Graham Mertz in the fact that we kind of just expected like this below average quarterback. Like, he's good. He's good. He's a good quarterback. He's a solid quarterback. If you have a quarterback, Ralph, that's going to help out a ton.
Yeah.
And they arguably they've got a guy who is going to be average at his worst. Like, Graham Mertz is going to be an average quarterback at his worst. And then the upside of DJ Lagway, you talked about him, 6'3", 241. He has the physical attributes. He's thrown to a true freshman receiver in Aiden Mizell, who I really, really like, that Florida has. They've got some talent, and I know that schedule is awful.
3 interceptions last year. Three interceptions, 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Yeah, obviously he had one of the best receivers in the country, and a very underrated receiver in Ricky
Pearsall. Yeah.
Pearsall, my bad. But you got 1 year. So Graham Mertz, is he still there? He's graduated, right?
Oh, you cut out on me. I'm sorry.
I'm asking, did Graham Mertz play? Is he going to play this year? Is he still there?
Graham Mertz? Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Graham Mertz is there. He's the starting quarterback.
He'll be in 6-year football.
Yeah, I wanted to show this real quick because I think this was really, really good. This is Graham Mertz to Aiden Mizell, the true freshman wide receiver. Look, you're looking at a guy, an early enrollee, and just a touch. That's Lagway. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we're just discombobulated here all over the place. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Lagway, I said it earlier in the year, he's super talented. We know this. We know what he's capable of. But is Florida going to waste his talent this year and possibly have a fired coach halfway through the season?
Maybe.
That's.
But I'm saying in the sense of like, I don't know if like, are we downplaying Florida? Because if you have a quarterback, that covers up a lot of issues.
Yeah, you don't have like. I mean, look at. I mean, I can't even say the team that has a quarterback battle right now in the SEC. I mean, besides, I don't know, Mississippi State maybe, but they got what's his name, Blake
Yeah.
Shapian.
Yeah.
So, Kentucky maybe, they got Brock, but every school has their quarterback coming into the next year. If not, they have a guy who's, a transfer or an incoming freshman who's super talented and may have a chance to play.
Yeah.
If they have no option at quarterback, they'll roll out the best option they got most of the time. And that guy may be the right time. It may not be, but eventually he will. Unless you're a school like Ole Miss or Bama or Georgia, and they're wanting to compete for a national championship, you would hope they have a quarterback.
Well, Graham Mertz is the starter coming out of the spring game for him. They're going to have DJ Lagway behind him. I think we just kind of end this with like, does Florida have hope? Yeah. Like if you have a quarterback, that clears up a lot of the confusion. I'm not talking about the quarterback. I'm just talking about overall as a team. Like you at least teams that have no hope don't have a signal caller. They don't have a leader. Florida has that, arguably two of them. So I think I really, really do like what Florida could do this season, and in the idea of like you've got a guy who I don't know. I don't know if Billy Napier's going to be the head coach, week 8, but I do think that they've got a quarterback. Now, if they can figure out some other things, they're going to hit the portal, obviously. And if they can keep Lagway in Gainesville, that's a promising future for if it's Napier or anybody else. But to answer that question, I think they do have hope because I think you have a signal caller, and that is a massive checkbox that you have to figure out.
In my opinion.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. Yeah.
Just help him out. Help him out.
I agree. Let's move on, Ralph. I'm looking at the banners here. Let's talk about Georgia's defense because I think this is something I'm going to talk with Palmer about this later in the week, but this defense could be special. And I mean this in the sense of Georgia's defense obviously took a step back because they had 47 draft picks, it felt like, on that side of the football. It was quite ridiculous what they had. There's a lot of hype about what C.J. Allen brings to the table. Middle linebacker. Ralph, this is a guy who, when Jamon Dumas-Johnson got hurt last year, C.J. Allen, the freshman, took over. Jamon Dumas-Johnson left town. He left town. He's at Kentucky now. A veteran, a Dick Butkus Award semifinalist, left because this kid's really good. Flying around, a lot of people are comparing him, that sideline speed, to a guy like what Raquan Smith had when you start to kind of read some of the reports. I'm not saying this guy's going to win a Dick Butkus Award. No. I just think that there's some stupid young talent at Georgia. Michael Johnson, by the way, has looked really, really good at outside linebacker. They've put him kind of more in a pass rusher, a rush-in type position.
As he needs to be.
Agreed. They could look really, really good. We're going to talk more about it, a little bit later, but all the indications out of Athens is that it could be a good group. It could be a solid group, and we know what they have offensively.
I mean, you brought in the number 1 corner, the number 1 linebacker, the number 1 safety, and number 3 linebacker. I mean, they are loaded right now, and it's the same thing we talked about Bama for the last 15 years. It feels like it's not a rebuild. It's a reload.
Yeah.
And that's what Georgia's doing now. And they are reloaded and they are fully stocked and they are ready to go. And they are a dangerous team.
Yeah. And
you don't go
that's not surprising anybody. I mean, we're saying that.
I shouldn't shock anybody. Because if you didn't watch anything last year and you're just going off what you thought happened, I'm sorry. Georgia is the real deal. Again. Sorry. This is what happens when you prepare. You get the right coaching head coach. You let him build his staff up. You let him recruit. You don't give up on him when he loses to Vanderbilt one year. You let him do his thing. You give him time. Now, I'm not saying every coach deserves that because some coaches just give up. They just start recruiting. Kirby laid a foundation that he wanted to do, and it's showing. That's why he's a 2-time national champion now, back-to-back years. That's why he's a front runner for coach of the year every year. That's why his team's the best, number 1 once every year.
Yeah,
he's done it the right way. In this defense, he's molded this defense the way he wanted it from year 1 to now. and they're gritty. They're fast. I mean, I think we can say it. They probably made the fastest defense in the country.
Oh, they're really fast, and their linemen
crazy.
have great speed. You
I
want to
mean-
see this though on offensive side of the football? They brought in transfer wide receiver Colby Young from Miami, physical
Mhm.
guy. Did you see the catch he made?
Yes.
I'm going to show the viewers this because this is,
If you don't believe they don't have speed, look at the Nazir Stackhouse last year when he had that pick six.
and he's back
Yeah, it's great.
for a 17th year.
He's been there longer than I've been alive.
All right, here's the clip right here. It's a good one of Carson Beck throwing this pass. Watch this right here. So you have Colby Young right here. Or I'm sorry, in the corner. And look at, I mean, just physical, goes up, makes a great play. And that's a lot of fans were like, hey, is that AJ Green 2.0? Because we saw him make a lot of nice plays like that. I don't know. That's the overreaction aspect of the whole thing. Like, we're not going to say that it's
I'll tell you one thing though, Georgia's their spring game is a little more intense. They hit hard.
they do.
And they let these guys hit each other for a while because they need it. They want to. There's a lot of that's the thing about spring football though, Bryce. And obviously we never played spring games in high school, but we did a lot of spring practice, and we would hit and then we just end in the spring practice like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever how long it was, and you got some pent up aggression against somebody. Someone may have dogged you out one day at practice. You want to hit them one day, and the season and the practice is over until summer, and we don't get the pads till August. So some of these guys want to hit each other. It's good. It's good for competition. It's good for development. I mean, this. I know we're saying I'm using the same words over and over again because that's what it is.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Dominic Lovett also looked really, really good. He had 7 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown. That's an encouraging sign for a receiver room.
Did London Humphreys play? I did not see him out there.
No clue. I have no clue. That we'll talk more about with Palmer about that later on. Look, Alabama looked good, and
As they should.
As they should. I mean, it's Alabama still.
The whole entire time felt like.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I think his comment was really funny though. Is that his new head coach, Miss Terry, will have to keep him tame during the games. I think entering a new era of football, not with just NIL, but with no Saban. What's going to happen to Alabama? Are they? Saban would never do what Kiffin did. That's just not how he is.
No.
And there's no knock to Saban. Obviously, he's the best coach of all time because he's done the best for the longest. But he didn't see like that's the thing that he needs to do. Now, will DeBoer do that? Who knows?
Who knows? But they had a good spring game there with Kalen DeBoer. Spring games, they don't mean a ton necessarily. And look, there's different things. There's different things. Like from a quarterback perspective, I think that there's a couple things, and I talked about this with Garrett Nussmeier on our LSU page about it, like decisiveness. Does he look comfortable in where he's going with the football? Does he have a good understanding? Is there a nice rapport, relationship with those receivers? That's something you want to see these guys building chemistry. You want them to see them feel comfortable. The run game aspect is something too, I think, for all, every single school. Do guys understand, if they're running a zone scheme, do they understand where they're supposed to be as offensive linemen? Do running backs, can they be able to hit holes confidently? In the passing game, we mentioned too, are running backs understanding the tendencies of the blitzing guys they have to pick up? Is there good communication? How are new players, acclimating to maybe new roles that they're going to have within that system? Those are the things. When you see a stat line of a guy having 7 catches for 235 yards, you need to keep in mind if that's someone that really, really is all that important. I think that's kind of it. I'll just say this. There was a young man down here that had a really, really big fall scrimmage. They do a big fall scrimmage down here for fans. Mm-hmm. And he was he's a walk-on, like he's a non-factor. And I'm not saying that I'm just saying, just be careful. Be careful. I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow. Just be careful because it's cool stories, but it's not. These games don't have a ton of impact on what happens from September to December. They just don't. They really don't. And they're so vanilla at this point. And I think it's Christian Adams says, Alabama, we found they got a good coach. Yeah, we think Kalen DeBoer is definitely a solid coach.
Agreed.
Ken Hendricks says it's always interesting to see Georgia State was estimated to have around 5K at their spring game and noted a lot of high school coaches, while Tech was estimated to have about 12K. I have no clue the official numbers on that. I do know Georgia State was littered with high school players. They had a ton. Seeing some pictures on the sideline there. Not a massive surprise if you kind of know what the deal is there in Atlanta. Yeah. Hey, 50-minute show. That's all we got there for tonight. We were going to talk Auburn, but the Auburn man himself is not here, so we're not going to steal his thunder.
He has not watched a bit of that game either. So
he's down. He's down bad. He's down bad.
He's in a good mood right now.
Big doubleheader win.
He has some big Guadalajara in him. He's good to go.
He's good to go. My name is Bryce Koon. That's Ralph Leary. Over 150 people watching live. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit the notifications bell on YouTube so you can know when we go live again. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking Georgia Tech, spring game, transfer portal. All happens tomorrow. It's transfer portal eve. It's going to be nuts tomorrow, and we're going to be talking Georgia Tech perspective on that. And then Wednesday, we're going to have another college football show. And then potentially Friday, it's going to be interesting. We could have something that works on Friday. So we'll see. We'll talk to you next time. Ralph Leary. My name is Bryce Koon. Subscribe to Booth. See you later.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.